Hey, friends. I'm Pastor Jack Mantrek, pastor at Central United Methodist Church here in Waterford, Michigan. We've been doing daily devotions for some time, and this week we've been dealing with the call of Moses. You can find his call in the third and fourth chapter of Exodus. And I want to give credit where credit is due. We're doing a series of messages this summer on the questions that God asked us, or questions from God. And it's based on this book that's been on my shelf for over 10 years by Trevor Hudson. You can see Questions God Asks Us. And so I've taken his ideas that are in devotional form and made them into a series of messages about considering the questions that God asks of us. Realizing that God wants to be in relationship with us. And how do we learn about each other? How do we relate to one another? But to ask questions, to dig deeper into each other's lives. And so God has a real interest in our lives. And of course, our faith inspires us to get to know our God better as our loving creator, our redeemer, and our sustainer. So we've been talking about this call of Moses this week. As I said, you can read about that call in the third and fourth chapter of Exodus. And Trevor Hudson, in this book says that there's a few things that we need to know about Moses and his call. One of the first things is that his inabilities, and you can read about those in those third and fourth chapters, because as God calls Moses, Moses has all kinds of excuses that he offers up. And from being ineloquent to saying, "Who am I? I'm just a shepherd," to saying, "Well, wait a minute. When I tell them about you, what's your name? What do I tell them?" I joke about it, saying that Moses is the first person who carded God. He asked God for identification. Of course, God said those wonderful words: "Just tell them that I am sent you," to the Pharaoh to release God's people from slavery in Egypt. So we talked about those inabilities. And we've talked this week also about his experiences. And you can read about those experiences, lots of Moses' experience, in chapter 2 of Exodus. And you'll learn that he murdered an Egyptian soldier who was beating an Israelite slave. And you'll read about the fact that as a baby, he was saved in a basket that was floated into the Nile, and he was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter. He was raised in Pharaoh's home, where he received an incredible education as well as an insider's view of the Pharaoh's palace and court. So he was an educated person. He was a murderer who then went into exile, self-imposed exile as a shepherd for his father-in-law's sheep. He was, during those times of being in the wilderness, he must have had some type of spiritual introspection and self-examination. So when he experienced that burning bush, he was open to the idea of hearing God in that way. He knew that God worked in mysterious and wondrous ways. Well, then let's consider Moses' abilities. Certainly persistence. I mean, he went back before Pharaoh many times, and he had the ability to inspire people to follow him out of slavery and into the wilderness. He had wisdom. In time, he developed wisdom to be a judge within God's people. And then also he had faith. He had faith that God was with him, as it was promised in the 12th verse of chapter 3. God says to Moses, "I will certainly be with you." And so Moses did possess some great abilities to be able to lead God's people out of slavery and into that wilderness experience. Remember, for 40 years, which was a time of preparation and a time of redefinition of God's people. So we want to think about our abilities. What are your abilities that you can offer to God? What are the abilities that you can use to benefit the church in the world today, to benefit the presence of Christ that we offer as the church in the world today? What's stopping you from sharing those abilities and doing the work of God in the world? What blocks do you see that are before you that you would have to deal with in order to fully live into the abilities that God has gifted you with and the call upon your life that God has given to you? Think about those things for this weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and I'll be back next week with daily devotions. God bless you and have a great weekend. Bye.